So this is a general planning meeting for 2022. I want to thank you guys all for joining us tonight. We have a lot of things to go over. Some of the things are fun things, and everybody can hear me, right? Sorry.
No, because she's going to the brush.
Okay.
If you are on, if you could mute yourself, then we don't have any background noise while we're going. That would be very helpful.
So what we want to do with this meeting is we want to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want to be kind of short on the ugly because we're probably going to break into some committees later on. We do have, some things to go over from 2021 that need to be addressed. And if you guys, I would like to hear from you guys, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly that we had for this year. And thank you guys for the help that you gave me this year, because as you know, from your schools yourselves, employment and people showing up is a little bit difficult with COVID. So COVID has put a little bit of a hankling in our hiring process. And so we're just trying to move forward. And I think that that's one of the things on our agenda tonight is to figure out how to do so.
So we wanted to welcome everybody. I know all of you know Terry, but you may not. Terry Collins, our livestock superintendent and extraordinaire. And then myself, Lori King, deputy manager at the Big Fresno Fair, and fortunate enough to oversee the livestock department. Again, this meeting is for us to be able to kind of get together and bounce things off each other. We are recording this meeting, so it will be posted on our website, hopefully by the end of the week for those who weren't able to attend. And then also, if we could ask everybody to please mute yourselves, just so that we don't get the background noise. And then if you have questions or comments or that, please just unmute and throw your questions at us. We also have the chat open, so we can monitor that if you have any chat questions.
So this opens the floor for things that you guys enjoyed for 2021, that you liked, that worked, and you would like to see for 2022. So I don't know if you guys want to raise hands, how you want to do it, just unmute, start talking, or raising your hand kind of works out in the classroom probably a little bit, but let us know if you guys want to come in. So we had no good, I guess, from the fair this year.
No, I think this is Tammy Pilcher. I think that being able to haul in Sunday and set up was a benefit to chapters that have a distance to travel. That way, when we came in on Monday, we could just jump our animals off and get them in the pen, and it helps create a smoother flow of traffic in and out of there. So that was very helpful.
Okay.
I'll echo that from Tammy too. We aren't far at Fowler, but it was still kind of nice to come in Sunday, set everything up so that all we had to do was come in, drop animals in on Monday, and kind of have a pretty easy going deal. I'm probably in the minority here, but I actually did kind of like having the market goat show the second week. I thought it was kind of nice. I know I've talked to a few people that probably disagree with me on that, but I thought it was nice. I'm good either way if it goes back to the first week, but I did like that everybody was there for the market show. It was nice that my goat kids were able to hang out with the hog kids and the steer kids and the sheep kids.
I think most people would recognize too that most of our goat exhibitors had very different auction experiences by being in the second week too, for the positive.
So we this year, for all of you that did not know, our numbers this year were phenomenal. We were at $1.5 million. I'm sorry, not 1.5, $1.2 million. And so for that, that kind of echoes the fact that the goats being over on the second week helped out because we brought in a new clientele of buyers. We did not have Wells Fargo, which we thought was going to kill us. And in a sense, this is the first year that I did not ship more than 50 animals to resale. So our hogs, I only shipped 18 hogs to resale. Sheep, I only had 13 that went. Goats, we had quite a few, but that's a normal. So just saying, for our sale, moving the goats was a huge success for us in the sale. It was hard, but it was a success, I think. So
add a couple more good things, Terry. I really like the way that the pig sale was going through. I think with all those small pins, it let us feed in and kind of smooth out some of the mishaps we had on the back area. And then during the when we were putting lot numbers on all the animals, I really liked, I know I was working one of the stations, but I really liked having 2 separate sites open to go and get everything knocked out. I think it sped it up a lot.
okay. So that for the marking, right?
Yes.
Hey, Brandy.
Yes.
Okay. That was a good thing. And then weigh-in for the sheep and the goats, would you guys rather see it be scheduled so you guys have a time you show up instead of everybody waiting in line? That was a question that I had for everybody.
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay.
That was a cluster and a half. And make sure that they follow it, because I think that just kind of warped into people standing in line, and then it just created whatever situation we had on Monday night.
Okay, and
That
so
one I think I'm gonna put right here, and then this one I'm gonna put next to it.
say that again. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I don't think it was.
Oh, so the sheep or the goats will weigh in Monday night after haul in. Yeah. And so then on Tuesday, the sheep will be weighing in and they will be scheduled, but the goats will have to weigh in Monday night.
So I see a lot of people really liked having all of their showmen in, like market showmen in the second week, but our weird little dairy goat market goats, they can't go back with the dairy kids then.
My problem is that I don't have an outlet for them I would have to hold all of the resales until the second week. And so that makes us have those goats there kind of out in those pens that are sitting in the back, and they aren't getting the care that they are requiring because they've been on specific feeds. And so it's kind of a mess when we do end up shipping.
Okay.
So for us to ship, everything goes out, all of the dairy goats and the meat goats go to the same spot. So they've got to be the same time.
Do you think we could reach out to see if
We could do 2 different.
if Fresno Livestock would take the dairy market goats?
They will take them. The problem is that I don't know that we will have the buyers for them that we would usually have. So, I mean, we can test it out. I just don't think that there will be a buyer base for those animals both week. I mean, they're benefiting from being with the meat goats with the meat prices. And I don't know that they would do well alone because of the fact that they would be selling with the chickens and the rabbits.
Fair enough. I don't know how many you had. I know there aren't very many. So
I want to say 12.
yeah, well, you might lose a few keeping them in the second week just because 2 weeks, like everyone else is saying, 2 weeks is hard to do. And I do get that where everyone else is coming from. So I was going to say though, I enjoyed that the barn was so empty, but it would be nice if we could do something to fill it up during Dairy Week.
That was something that I am looking into. I'm trying to get a dairy doe or a dairy goat show back. I sent out some feelers, and there are a lot of dairy goat people right now that, because of COVID, all of the shows have been canceled. So if we can do a sanctioned 2-ring dairy goat show on the Friday before that week, the sale, the first sale, like we used to, I'm working with some dairy goat people that they would love to see that. And hopefully the kids would be able to participate in that once again, like they used to.
Okay. Well, so, and I'd be happy to help with that. So let me
Don't
know.
worry, I was gonna call.
All right. Thank you.
And then there is a question in the chat. Can we bring the dairy market goats back for the week 2 auction, or is that not an option? So that's something we could possibly look at.
We had talked about that years ago for the other goats, but that is an option. I mean, we can look at that.
We're talking about goats and there's a goat flying.
Sorry, that's me.
No, it's okay. It was it.
Bring the goats back.
A lot of us even talked about we'd be more than happy to take our dairy goats home, our dairy markets home, and bring them back for our auction second week, where you wouldn't have to store them. Another option.
Okay. Anything else that worked well? This is your time to kind of let us know.
I second what everybody else said. I love that we got to go in early and decorate and set our pins. That was like a godsend.
Did you guys?
Got it.
Did you guys like being able to leave Saturday night
Yes.
rather
Very
than
much so.
holding over for Sunday?
Yes, it was nice. Well, especially since we had to go for 2 weeks of fair, it was nice for us dairy people that we had a little bit of a break in between coming right back to fair the next day.
Okay.
Okay, anything else out there?
This may not be something that is favored upon on the fair, but I love the fact that the barns were closed during the shows, and we didn't have the congestion of people in the restrooms with kids trying to change, and the congestion of people as we're trying to move animals from the show ring. That seemed to be kind of nice.
That was because of our hours from.
That was primarily because the fair wasn't open. So kind of, but it's kind of a double-edged sword, because then a lot of complaints that we've heard was that there was nothing open for anyone who was there for livestock, to watching the shows or just exhibiting. There was nothing open for you to do. So it's double-edged sword that yes, the public wasn't there, but then nothing was open. We are changing our hours back to a more traditional hours for 2022. We are also bringing back our educational days. So that Thursday and that Friday, which are, Thursday is the show day for showmanship, we will have school tours going through. But we'll work with it like we have in the past, where we close it off so that the tours aren't, in the middle of it. But I totally understand what everybody's saying, but we also have to remember that, we want people to be able to see what we're doing and what our kids are doing, and, have that educational element as well.
So that brings us to something else, is that we will be having our educational speeches, and there will be the platform for the kids to actually get up and do their talks. Tracy, that's something that I already have Isabel that has done it before, to coordinate, to do educational speeches and everything, and we'll have the stage set up for them. if that's something that you, if you guys like that. And for FFA, if you've got kids that are preparing for something that they need to get a little practice up on a stage, you are more than welcome to use the opportunity to get some points for your kids that need to do some community service. So what we offer is that the kids take, I mean, we've had some kids take rabbits up on the stage and talk about them with the other kids. And it really draws in a crowd to have someone telling about what we're doing and how to do it. So the 4-H kids have been great with it.
I was just gonna say that that's one of our club's favorite things is to be able to come in and do speeches there. So we like, Blossom Trail likes that.
Okay.
Okay, any other feedback from everybody? I mean, and it's really just feedback. So what worked, what didn't work? You know,
I'd like to say something that didn't work. Kind of the main thing that I had a problem with was the girl who's doing the pictures over in the pigs area. I mean, there was confusion. There's two of them. One of them told me, hey, bring up a couple pigs. And the other girl yelled at me because I didn't bring up all my pigs. And when all my pigs came up, the other girl yelled at me for bringing all my pigs up. And well, we all know how pigs can be. And the quality of, and Terry, I know I kind of griped in your presence about this earlier, but the quality of those pictures just wasn't there. And we kind of got hurt on the back end for our thank you cards and the actual advertisement for our animals.
Yes, we do know that. And we are working on finding a new photographer this year. Last year we had a photographer that was lined up and then she could not follow through and do it for us. And so we had to find one pretty late in the process. So that kind of threw us for a loop, and I apologize for that. I know pictures are very important for the kids and we do not like to not have a good photographer, but that's something that we are working on, is a new photographer.
and a new location for the pictures as well.
Some things that didn't work in the goat barn, and I think June and I talked about this a lot too. Sorry, June, if I'm going to drag you in this. But we really need like some kind of middle alleyway between the pins for the tools, or somewhere where we can store that, or another pin for tools and tack. That was kind of hard for us to manage that. And in the other side of the barn, they have that alleyway in the sheep barn, so it's kind of nice where we can kind of store all those things there. The wash racks in the goat barn, I know we probably haven't used those as a traditional wash rack for quite some time. So they just need to get checked on the handles, because there was literally 2 that worked. And so kids were running around and kind of trying to wash as best they could with that. And then the paint branding for the goats and the sheep was a little just kind of last minute. I mean, we knew it was happening, but we just kind of like didn't know about it. And so, or at least that was on my part. So maybe that was just bad planning on my part, but we were walking out and then we heard it over the intercom. We're like, oh shoot. And then went back.
So that was kind of, we were having a problem because we had used a new system, and we were having a problem getting our sale order in check. So that was one of the reasons that it was late. But then we also ran into a problem with the paint, because the paint had meshed, and so we were running a little bit of a problem with that. And if you can't just go buy that paint, it's a special paint that we buy for that, which we will have several cans ready for this year, so that we can use other areas. But on the paint branding also, I am looking for somebody that can sandblast the paint brand irons. If any of you guys want to step up and take that on, you would be a hero in my book.
I can help you with that.
Thank you. But yes, we had some issues. We were a little out of practice. Taking a year off kind of throws us all for a little bit of a loop. We were a little out of practice. The year before, we didn't have paint brand. So the paint sat there for 2 years, and paint doesn't sit well for 2 years and then come back in a good way. So we will be looking at that.
Sorry. Okay, what else do you guys have for us? This is your time to tell us. Open ears.
I apologize if this already came up, but and sorry, did I cut someone off?
Just me, Chris. I'll forgive you, but only
Sorry.
this one.
Sorry. When they called the pigs up to the auction for the first run, and again, I apologize if someone already brought this up, but there were pigs literally up there for 45 plus minutes waiting to go in after the sale of champions. And even if it's a 5-minute lag, if we can wait to call pigs up until the last sale of champions animal goes through, I think it's just going to be better for the kids, better for the hogs, better for the Kiwanis folks that were there volunteering for us. It was pretty tough.
I appreciate that comment. I want everyone to know that we have a couple people who have stepped up who are going to be revamping our auction. And with that, they want to kind of take it into the next level and just redo it. And what that means is the auction will start when it says it's going to start, and it won't start 45 minutes later with our kids waiting to sell animals, and just some exciting things that are going to happen there. So stay tuned for that. If you have a passion for auctions and want to be involved in that committee, let Terry know, because we, like I said, we've got some community members who are very excited to revamp the auction and bring in a whole new element to it.
So that brings me into another part of what we have on our outline here. I need helpers. If you guys see me on a forklift, that means I have no help. This year I was lucky enough to have Clovis FFA, Fowler, Central, some independent kids, and some kids that just happened to be in the barn that we commandeered that came in and helped us set up a lot of pens. And I do appreciate that. The kids that were walking by that had nothing to do, they said, hey, we don't have anything to do right now. What can we do to help? And that was a big help. But I'm trying to get some committees together that will help us on setup days. I know that there's some dads down there that are just hanging out and they always are looking for things to do. And so I need some help though, setting up pens, getting things ready for you guys so that when you guys come rolling in, that you're ready, everything's ready for you. But if you guys want to be part of a committee, please email me, and my email is this.
I'm putting her email in the chat.
Is on here, and tell me what committee you want to be involved in, because we can use help setting up, tearing down, handbook proofing. I already have 2 of my people who always call me and tell me how the things that we've screwed up in there that are proofing my book for me. But we also need help. So if you guys want to be part of that, please email me what you want to be part of.
Terry, Lori, can I ask a question? And it's asked of me sometimes, so I'm not on my own in the inquiry, but especially at a time when the sale set records, I mean, are you going to have funding where you're going to hire more help? Because oftentimes the question is, well, what happens to the commission, and doesn't it get reinvested into our livestock department?
So I did hire help, but with COVID, they either came down with it or they didn't show up, or because of how things are set up, they worked the time that they needed and then they just stopped showing up. So it wasn't the fact that I didn't have a lot hired. It was the fact that a lot just stopped coming.
And to answer that question a little bit deeper to what you were asking, Tracy, yes, that money goes straight back into making those improvements, to hiring those people, to doing those things with the auction that we're trying to do. Many of you may not realize it, but we've actually tried to start doing more marketing for the auction. We've created pieces. We've been bumping posts on social. We've done paid buys. So there are a lot of those kind of things that happen, that 6% comes straight out of that. 2021, like everything else, I mean, there was a help wanted sign every place anyone
Right.
ever went into. So unfortunately, trying to find the labor was, it was a struggle. And we did the best with what we had. Obviously, moving forward, we're hoping that that won't be the case any longer. Who knows? We're still having a hard time getting employees.
Right.
Yes, there is funding, and we are committed to, you know, putting those dollars back in.
Anyways, little dog fight. So we don't, the commission that we take, it does pay for those employees. It does pay for the auctioneers. If you guys want to know the truth, the auctioneers, they do not volunteer their time. It is one of those things where you can't expect them to be there all day long when they're giving up time from an auction that they usually, hi there, that they usually have, that they're, you know, they're taking a day off of work to come and help us. And good auctioneers are hard to find. So it's really worth us paying them to come in. But 6%, we're one of the smallest commissions taken around from the sales around here. So it's not like we are making a lot of money for that. And it also pays for the cost of the shipping and the trucking and the labor. So those are the things that it does cover.
Thanks for addressing that.
I apologize for that. If you live up in the foothills, we have a major coyote problem right now, and that was my dog playing with the coyotes.
With respect to the auction, I mean, Terry, you and I spoke after the auction, so I know you already knew about this, but the online bidders who had bid before the live auction started, you guys are revamping everything, so this might be addressed, but the auctioneers forgot to look there for starting bids.
We had a problem with the online forum that we used. We were told that the glitches that had happened at another fair were not going to happen, and they did. So we at one point just shut it down and went old school because it wasn't the amount of time and effort that it was taking us to try and do everything with the online forum that we had. It just wasn't working out, and our internet froze at one point, and that was actually just so that we could catch up. So we won't be using that forum again. We may use that for add-ons after the auction, but it won't be during the auction this year. We will probably be using a Zoom link or old school, as our auctioneer said, where we can actually take phone in from people that are out of state or something like that. And we'll have a phone bank set up and go old school that way, because it was very hard. I will just say that, to use the online forum and trying to get everything to mesh. So we know that there was problems there. And again, I apologize for that, but no kids went without the money that was guaranteed to them. And we did find monies that had to be taken care of because we did have some glitches, but the kids were all taken care of.
Perfect, thanks.
There was a question in the chat. Can you put a short description on the committee, on each committee and what its responsibilities are? We will post that on our website by the end of the week. So you'll be able to go in and go to the livestock page and then see a list of each of the committees with a description, and then Terry's email to be able to link to email her your interest.
For the goat overflow section, because assuming things are continually get better, I'm sure our goat numbers will continue to increase. And I know it was getting full in the goat section. Could the overflow be moved as far as pinning wise a little more north next year as far as distance, just because the walking common areas became definitely challenging trying to go in between the beef and sheep/goat section?
So there weren't supposed to be any overflows. What happened was a lot of people did not give me the correct number of animals that they had, and they showed up with extra. And so when we were stalling, there were animals that I had in my count, but there were animals that showed up that were not in the count. So that was a big problem. So when I ask you guys to give me lists and things like that ahead of time, it's so that I can set up and make sure that we have the proper amount of pens with breeding animals as well as the other, and you bring the right number of animals that you said you're going to bring.
And with that, we are looking at, we may move the goat area. It hasn't completely been decided yet as we kind of look and see what the feel will be for this year. Our plan is to get back to a totally normal fair. I don't know that that's going to completely happen yet. So we may still be looking at, shifting things.
And
Okay,
those
yeah.
pens, this is the first year that we've used those pens. We borrowed those pens, and there isn't really, I know you guys are asking for a feed alley down the middle or something like that. There really isn't a way to do that with that, but we can figure out places for storage for you guys.
And doing extra pens,
Yes.
for tack and those kind of things. Totally understand that.
Because I did think week 2 was good as far as goats, and I thought the pigs on one side and goats on the other side in terms of the sale. Once goats figured out where we were going in the entryway, I think afterwards it ran fairly well from my side of things.
Okay. So there is a question in the chat, which is actually something that we had on our list to discuss. The question is, can we move or revamp the chuck wagon so that we may serve warm food to the kids, also fewer tables so that you can move around in the tent easier? So I'll address the food tent. The food tent's purpose was to be able to give the exhibitors and their families a space to be able to bring small meals and have a place to be able to go to eat, because when we did away with eating in the barns, that was one of the biggest things and one of the biggest problems. So we provided an area for our exhibitors to be able to eat. The food tent was never intended to be a full service restaurant. It never was. There's no power, there's no water, there's no utilities. And as far as it's gone, we can't have it go that far. We can't have any kind of open flames. We can't have any kind of cooking. We can't have the, big warmers. We just can't have it. It's more of a bring in pizzas, bring in cold cuts, bring in ice chests, bring in those kind of things. That's what can be done in there. We were in major fire marshal violations throughout the entire fair with that area. I got wrote up about 6 times in the 12 days. So it continued to be a major issue throughout the whole run of the fair. We want to be able to keep that area for the kids, but we can't have the food, quote, cooking that's happening in there.
Can I maybe, and I'm probably going to get yelled at later by everyone, but can we do like an assigned school or assigned club like cleanup in there? Because sometimes it gets pretty messy, and there'll be 1 or 2 schools that do a really good job and then one club that doesn't, or like I've seen Layton go through and clean out the whole thing, and that shouldn't all go on them or one school. So can we like, hey, if your club's coming, you have this hour, it can go into your herdsman competition? Just a thought.
We absolutely can, that we can add that, but that's something that everyone else is going to have to, opt into. In a perfect world, everyone would clean up after themselves. Nobody's mother is there. So
that was one of the committees that I actually have on my list. And one of the things that we can do is schedule cleanup days for each club and associate that possibly into the herdsmanship. That is if we are allowed to have a tent by the fire marshal. So the fire marshal can tell us we don't get to have a tent, and then we will have to figure something else out.
So in terms of the small 4-H clubs, there's oftentimes that there's no room in there for them. So I would hate to see them assigned for a cleaning assignment when they in fact really aren't utilizing the area because of lack of space. Just a thought.
And it's been mentioned a couple times in the chat area about having fewer tables and chairs. We can absolutely do fewer tables and chairs. We've always just tried to put in, enough to make it so that kids can all sit, but we can absolutely do fewer. That's not a problem. That actually saves us money because we actually rent all of those tables for that area.
So you guys would have to decide who wants to sign up for the food tent duties, but those that would sign up, it would go towards your herdsmanship scores. So if you sign up for it, even if you are a small club, you will get points for helping out cleaning in there. And that's, the reality of it is that this is a novelty for the kids to have with the, to be able to bring their food, be able to bring stuff so that they don't have to go out and pay the money and buy all of the food at the fair and have healthy foods. So if
there are healthy foods at the fair.
Excuse me. Just that being said, we need to have some help keeping it clean. And I know that there are some clubs that jump in and do it all the time, but it's not fair that they are the only ones doing it.
I will also say, and I think Terry's trying to sugarcoat it, and I apologize. I'm not trying to make any enemies here with this, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you would have asked me on the Monday after the fair, my answer would have been the food tent is gone and we're not going forward with it. I was yelled at entirely too many times by parents about the food tent. So this is kind of our trial run to see if we can make it work and we can all figure out that happy medium and what foods, can be in there and what can be provided. And so I hope that we can figure that happy medium out, because I do think that it's great for the kids to be able to have that area to go to congregate and get away from everything. But at the same time, Terry nor I need to be addressed the way we were both addressed in regards to power, and I can't heat my this up, and how am I supposed to feed these kids, and I can't do, and there's other ways to go about that kind of stuff. So it is a luxury that we provide, and so keep that in mind.
So while I am very sorry that you guys had a bad experience in regards to that, for those kids that have multiple animals that come in and show from like 9 to 3, 4 o'clock, I just point out it's kind of a necessity for them. There isn't any other way for them to eat throughout the day since it can't be in the barn. So
We realize
another
that.
perspective.
We do realize that it is important to have, but at one point when it becomes more of a headache and a hassle and a fire marshal nightmare, we just can't do it. So if that's something that we want to keep, then we will have to do it the way that the fire marshal says, the way that we set out and parameters that we set. And it's not going to make everybody happy, but it's the best that we can do with the new fire marshal rules that are in play. And if we want to get a permit to even open the fair.
And they're not necessarily new. So everyone understands where we're coming from. The state fire marshal has always been a little bit more lenient with fairs, and not necessarily held our feet to the fire on some of the frivolous, ridiculous things that are in code. There's been a drastic change in Sacramento, and deputy fire marshals are now encouraged and told to go to fairgrounds and find all of these little tiny ridiculous things, like having a warmer in an unauthorized place, or using a extension cord plugged into a surge protector. So those are the things that they're actually being told by their bosses to come find. So they're it's very nitpicky. Lisa has her hand up, so go ahead, Lisa.
Hi, it's Mrs. Bates. But I did have a question in regards to the food tent. In saying that, one, I do think if we had the less of the tables and chairs just out in the middle, then maybe even if each of our clubs, because like Tracy was saying, it is hard for our little 4-H clubs to even have any space at all to put anything. So maybe we'd even be able to have a table more out in the middle if there was less of the sitting, since we're not all actually eating in there at the same time. But the other thing was with the in regards to the herdsmanship, could we, I mean, I'm down for for if we were keeping our own space clean, getting points towards herdsmanship, but is there any way to just have each club label their area, and if they're not being able to follow the rules or keep their area clean, then they would just lose their privileges for being in there, just to kind of help, because you guys were saying if we sign up for herdsmanship, then we have to sign up for it. Well, some of them might not even just sign up and be like, who cares, I'm gonna leave myself a big mess. So I don't know if that
So we have done the assigned areas, and the assigned areas somehow or another get moved around, pushed around, and the little 4-H groups, and they do get left out of it because another group will come in. But this is one of the things that we're going to have to work through, is that everybody's not going to have a table to leave all of their stuff on. They'll have an area that they can come and sit in, but everybody's going to have to work together and keep the entire tent clean, because the fire marshal, that is one of the things, keeping everything clean, biosecurity, all of that kind of stuff all plays in. But we need to make sure that it stays clean all the time, because we can't have it a mess every day.
Okay, and then so I think we've kind of touched on that, so we'll stop beating the dead horse. There are a couple of comments in the chat that I wanted to read. One was line the tables north to south for shorter rows. That's a great idea. Bringing food in one day at a time, not food for the whole week. And then it was recommended, can we do 2 tents, one for FFA and one for 4-H? We've tripled the size of the tent in the last few years. So adding another tent, I mean, it could be a possibility. We honestly start running out of space because we do use that street for parking as well. And then do you guys publish rules for the food tent, or post it by the food tent do's and don'ts? Heavy education groups, that's a great thing. The rules are not posted, but they will be, you bet. And then could each club or chapter have a certain table? I think we addressed that. Here is one of my favorite ones. Can you sell beer or wine to buyers during the auction?
We do.
John, I love that. We do, where the lunches is set up. We do have a adult beverage cart that has been set up. We've been doing that for the last 2 years, so 19 and 21. In this revamp of the auction, that is something that the 2 guys who are spearheading this new auction committee are going to dive into quite a bit, and creating kind of a exclusive area, and really highlighting those buyers who are hitting those certain levels, and making it very exciting. So yes, we are definitely looking at those avenues, and also looking at ways to be able to get food and beverage back into the barn in some kind of a way for the auction. So not for the entire run of the fair, but looking at getting it back in for the auction for the convenience of the buyers, doing some kind of prepackaged or something like that. Another question, parking. I bought a pass, and every time I'd go, there was no parking available. I'll have to address that.
Okay, so here's what happened on our parking. I'm not sure, if you went to the right parking area? It should have been Hanoian's lot. There shouldn't have ever been an overflow of parking in that area. Because it is a permitted area only. That was handled, there was 2 days that we had some parking issues out there with our staff, and that was handled. But that is something that is on my list here, because we had a lot of people that, with our new parking area, we did not have flaggers out there and they did not park properly. So the problem was that people just decided that they would park however they wanted to, and they didn't park where it was chalked off. And so we had people that would get blocked. We had trailers that were parked in the wrong area, and it was kind of a mess. So we're hoping that we'll have different flaggers out there this year. And in the mornings when you guys get there, you guys need to follow what the flaggers park you, and not think that that parking lot is, you know, just a luxury for you, that because it's way easier to get back and forth to the barn at that lot. But the flaggers had a lot of people that were very rude to them, told them that they could park wherever they want because it's the livestock parking. They paid for their permits. And so that's something that was on my list tonight to talk about too, because the parking people that are out there, they are paid to park you guys safely and make sure that you can get in and out of there. And if you guys don't follow how they park you and you just go willy-nilly out there, you guys will not, you'll get blocked in and you will not be able to go out there. There was many times that I came and got ag teachers keys moving cars because we just couldn't get cars in and out of there. And it wasn't the ag teachers parking wrong. It was the people that had parked there beginning. And I luckily knew some of the ag teachers and was able to go get keys, and we moved vehicles. But when you guys park, you have to follow where, and it will be marked where trailers are supposed to park and where large trucks are supposed to park, because they can't, large trucks cannot get in and out of the parking stalls.
And again, we recognize that we have a lot of room to improve on that, and we need to hire stronger people. Unfortunately, it was hard to even find a warm body to be out there this year. So in all hopes, we'll be back to some stronger people parking you guys out there. We have 2 hands up. Go ahead, Kenny.
My recommendation is that everybody needs to bite their tongue and be appreciative that you guys were able to get that space, which made it a lot more convenient for us to get back and forth to the barn. The people that I dealt with were very courteous, and they tried to do everything they could to get us in a decent spot, parked safely. It was understaffed, yes, but that's the way this last year's been. Everybody needs to be quiet and be appreciative.
Well, that's very nice. So everyone also does realize the fair lost about $65,000 on paid parking by giving that lot to that 4-H and FFA. But we really felt that it was better for our exhibitors, better for your families, better for, you know, the people who are there the longest part of the day. We felt that that was the best place for you guys to park and the safest place for you to park coming in early hours and late hours. So we appreciate that, and thank you for recognizing it. Victor?
All right, not great thing after Kenny's comment. I full-heartedly agree with him. Just an idea, when we're doing our haul in, haul outs, maybe making like a chalked, just a route for the trailers, because I know I got sent through the main parking lot a couple times, which is fine. I got the skills to go through there. But while I was trying to line up my trailers, and once again, this is kind of people just cutting the line, I saw a huge line form, and then I was the only one who had a ticket, but I was at the very end. It was a giant cluster. So I know that's kind of chalked up to, do you guys just didn't have enough warm bodies or anyone with a heartbeat? The people that were out there were doing the best they could. I totally get that, but maybe just put that on something for the committees to just take a look at and address, just so that way it's even better. But yes, just like Kenny said, thank you guys for getting us, because that walk is so much nicer than the one we used to have to do.
Yes. Okay. Some other comments. Can Dutch Bros open earlier? What the, right? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. We wholeheartedly agree with that. It was a struggle. We encourage that. The owner has guaranteed that we'll be open earlier for next year. I did want to make everybody aware that Dutch Brothers did donate back a percentage of all of their sales to the 4-H and FFA. So Every single exhibitor ended up getting a bump bid from Dutch Brothers, depending on what species it was, depended on the amount, but they donated back a little over $8,000 to go straight back to our exhibitors.
That's awesome.
Sound system, we can't always hear the announcements in the barn. Agree. It is a struggle. We have a new sound company who wants to redo the way we've been doing things, which is very exciting. So stay tuned and be patient with us on that, because we should have a whole new operation in place for this next year. In regards to payouts after the auction and the fair is said and done, is there a way to place a due date on buyers that would help expedite the payment process rather than hold checks?
So this is something that every year we run into. We try and make sure that all the buyers have their bills, have them paid up. The entire process takes a little bit of time. One of the bigger things that we run into is that some of our add-on bidders will say that they're paid, that they're going to pay, and then they don't. So this year we are putting a deadline on all add-ons, and if they have not been paid, they will be dropped. And so this year I dropped probably $600 worth of add-ons just so that I could get checks out to kids. So we work as hard as we can to make sure that all these things are taken care of in a timely fashion. I am pretty much like Guido on the phone bothering these people until they do pay. So your add-ons, if you guys get your add-ons ahead of time and you have checks written, just make sure that they have, your kid's name on the memo area so that when we're putting them in, we can put them in quickly and promptly, so that the kids will get paid. We did have a lot of people that flaked out on us for add-ons this year.
And Terry said, she did take some add-ons off, but as people were paying those add-ons, we would then reissue another small check to the kids. So we were trying to kind of divide them up, and if we could pay a big chunk of it, then we were doing that. And if it was just one thing holding it up, we were. And when she says she's Guido, like, she really is Guido. And it comes down to all of us are driving around to different places, picking up kids, checks so that we can get kids paid, sitting in businesses, making those phone calls. So we try really hard, because we've all had kids go through it, and we understand that they're waiting on that, and it's not something that we like for the kids either.
Wristbands. Okay, here's another thing for you guys that I need your help with, because we're finding a huge problem with this. Wristbands. We sold wristbands up until the Saturday before, or actually the Saturday before our haul out day, which was really weird. We've never done that before. But we use our wristbands as a safety monitoring tool as well. We know with the bands, they're all numbered. So if something happens with a wristband or one of the kids if they lose it, we can kind of go back to where it came from. I'm having a problem with the kids trying and the parents trying to cut little holes in it and outsmart the security guards. The security guards, if they see that they have been tampered with, they will take them. So if the kids are tampering with them or trying to hand them off or any of that kind of stuff to somebody else, it's not going to work. Our security guards are very, very quick to take them. And you're going to have to buy a whole new pass if yours gets confiscated. Terry, you have a question.
I didn't want to interrupt a specific conversation. I just had a question per se on maybe what some of the other folks might find to be helpful, but the show was good. The judges were good. The ring people that were helping were fabulous. And I really appreciate all of the work that you guys are doing. But I was just hoping, and I don't know if other people, well, I do know a couple people have the same idea, but the sheep and the goats, that was a really small ring when we brought the meat goats on. And I actually like having the meat goats there because it did increase some prices for a lot of folks, and that's really appreciated. And there was space in the barn and it seemed to work pretty smoothly. But I just noticed that on some of those classes, they were kind of big and the judge could not physically get off of the animals to evaluate them as well as maybe they have in the past because the ring was cut in half. I'm wondering if it's possible to leave the 3 rings as they were in the past, and then maybe move, since we have cattle all on one day, maybe we could move one of those species into the cattle ring on one day, since we do the 2 days for goats and 2 days for, just an idea, just a thought.
So for the showmanship day, we can do that. For market day, there's no way that we would be able to pull it off and move them over because the cattle are not going to be done. And since it is a 1-day show, they won't be done until probably 4 o'clock. So there's no way that we would be able to get 200 plus goats in and out of the show rings and seen by a judge on a market day. We can try and expand those and take out bleachers, but that's the only way that we would be able to make this any bigger, is to take out the bleachers and try and make it bigger, and then everybody's going to have to stand around.
No, I was actually suggesting if maybe meat goat judging or sheep judging could be on a separate, like a different day. I don't know how people feel about moving days on show, not just showmanship, but the market show, only because if cattle was it Tuesday and it was all one day?
It was Wednesday. It was Wednesday because they do this, we do our champion drive that night. So all the market animals have to show on one day in order for us to do the fun champion drive.
Okay, so market cannot change for any market animal.
If we want to do a champion drive, they can't and have every species involved. They would have to. You can't hold your champions for 2 days so that everybody goes on to 1 day for the champion drive. That wouldn't be fair to the animals or to the kids.
So see, I thought beef was on.
Beef was on Wednesday.
Yeah, all markets showed on Wednesday. But maybe we can look at.
We can try and figure out how
a
we
different
can.
area. Maybe.
Yeah, we can try and make a rings possibly in a different area. The problem is we have poles in our barn that add as an obstacle for a child that might be looking at a judge and to walk straight into one of those. Because there were several places we were looking at to move our ring. We just couldn't do it because of the poles.
Maybe we can move the cattle ring to baby go.
I don't know.
Okay,
we'll try and figure
look
it
at
out
some other options. Absolutely.
and try and make them bigger.
And then we can all still hope for that day when the barns spontaneously combusts and we get a brand new one.
Brand new barn with no poles.
No poles.
But let's say that that's not ever going to happen. We'll just have to work around it and figure it out. It's all new to us too. This year was our kind of our pilot program for the goats, and I think that it worked, but it also had its drawbacks. So there is that. I know that we had some issues with our showmanship, the late entries and things like that. Here is one of the things that this is the first year that we've taken late entries on showmanship. It would be great if everybody decided that on the days that you enter your market animals, that you go ahead and you tell your kids to enter showmanship the same day. Late entries, we don't have to do those. We do those as a courtesy because we do have kids that, you know, sometimes the parents don't click the button, or sometimes our little ones don't click the button. So we added the late entry on the day of haul-in. We did have a problem because we did not post the classes for you guys on haul-in day. we were a little bit busy, but if you guys ever see something that we say that we're going to do and you're there, let us know that we haven't done it so that we can rectify it and we can post it, because we all are human and we all do have some flaws that sometimes get overlooked. So that's one of the things that I would ask of you.
The other thing, as an advisor and as a leader, you can always call the office and we can send you a list of what everything that's been entered for your club or your chapter. And we can do that, before the fair, so you can see what has been entered and what hasn't been, and then you'll know if you have kids who haven't entered.
And I have a lot of people that actually on most of my FFAs will actually call me and ask me for that. And I usually send them all that information. I think Terry, you usually call me because you always check, and so does Chris and June. And then some of the other advisors do it as well. So I appreciate that. Next thing is livestock classes. If we do not have enough in those classes, we will combine them, because it's not fair for the kids to only have one in their class and not get to show against somebody else. So that was one of the things that somebody had talked about last year at the end.
Drench guns. So drench guns are not allowed at the Big Fresno Fair. So that means they're not allowed to be used, but it also means they're not actually allowed to be on premises. So I know it seems silly, but just a reminder for our exhibitors. I know that, our family, we may have forgotten and left it in a tack box or what have you, but just as you're going to fair, remember those are some of those things you need to take out if they're always in your tack box. We've kind of talked about haul in and setup, and it sounded like everybody liked that we were able to get you in to get tack and everything set up earlier.
The swine, there's something that you guys, we had all of our swine exhibitors. We were sent a notification that all of them cannot be completely slick sheared. You need to leave at least a 1/4 inch of hair on your hogs, because when they go to the processor, they do not roll well without having hair on them. And so they have to keep rolling and rolling and rolling them. Just saying, make sure that you leave those on there. Cattle, goats, sheep, and other animals. When we are fitting the cattle, you guys, for showmanship, you do not have to use adhesive. You do not have to use any products. You can go blow and show. And then when you come back for the market classes, you're more than welcome to use the adhesives and the hair coat conditioners. You can go blow and go if you want to. It's up to you. Swine, we have a new Prop 12 initiative that has been passed. And that is something that any animal that comes for a market animal that is a swine has to have a bill of sale with the breeder noticing and putting on that they are Prop 12 compliant. Prop 12 is the size of the pen where the sow was bred and lived well after the piglets were born. It doesn't have anything to do with the pig that you are showing. It has to do with the size of the pen that the sow was actually housed in. So Prop 12 is a big thing for us, because anything that goes to resale, we have to produce documentation for the processor. There was another thing that came up last year, dress code in the barn and barn duty supervision. This is a big thing for me, because we had some young ladies and young men that were not dressed appropriately. And we are a place that has 600,000 people that come through our gates. We do not want to have our barn and our students looking like they're going clubbing. So it would be really good if we could make sure that we have proper supervision of our students while they're on the property, and that we do have an advisor or a leader that we can get in touch with in case of an emergency. Somebody has their hand up.
Yeah, Chris, you have your hand up.
Sorry, on the Prop 12 deal. So that's purely an elective deal that are not as exhibitors, but the fair, correct?
It is
And
not
here-
elective.
Here's the reason I say that is because are you worried about Yosemite?
It's not Yosemite. It's not elective for us. We've been told by the Department of Food and Agriculture Affairs and Expositions that this is something that we have to honor and do. There was a whole training session for us on it. So you have to have verification that the hogs that you are buying to exhibit at our fair have all adhered to Prop 12 guidelines, and they come from a facility that does.
The reason I'm asking is because letter of the law says that animals that are up for, or meat that's being sold, we sell live animals. The animals that go to Yosemite are bought by an individual and aren't necessarily going to resale. So those animals should be a non-issue. It would be our resale, and the livestock auction isn't requiring it. So this is a fairs and expo thing, not necessarily because we're following Prop 12 to the letter of the law.
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
fairs and
got it.
expo thing. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
It also is if we want to keep our processors, because if they don't meet the compliance with having the proper documentation, they can get shut down and fined.
Right,
So
but Yosemite can process our pigs all day long because they're going to private buyers. They're not being sold to
correct. But we
commercial
don't know which
industry.
ones are going to go to resale, and we don't know which ones are going to go to custom. So we have to have paperwork on every one of them.
But John's the one that picks up our resale, correct? And I'm just want to make sure that I got my ducks in a row. Or not, John. I'm sorry, Fresno Livestock Commission.
They do, but not our supreme champions.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Roping dummies and our junior rodeo crowd. This was a problem in our aisles and things like that. If we do not have shows going on during the fair and you want to use the main arenas for your little roping practices, you are more than welcome to. But the roping dummies, roping anything cannot be in our aisleways or somewhere where the public can get hit with ropes. It cannot be in our driveways or any of that kind of stuff out back. It just, we can't have it because it's too dangerous for the kids to be in front of vehicles that are moving in and out of there. Generators, you want to take that one?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, generators are not able to be at the fairgrounds. In order for that, they have to be 30 feet from any structure. So it basically has to be sitting out in the middle of nowhere by itself. And when it's fair time, it's really hard to accommodate that. We know and we recognize that power is an issue. We did bring in way more spider boxes than we've ever had before, and we are looking to continue to do that. We're also looking at bringing in some bigger generators like we did this last year over in the goat area, so that we can get power everywhere that is needed. So we recognize that it's a problem, but unfortunately we can't have anyone bring in generators.
Next thing on my list I have is conflicts of other activities with our entries and our sale animals. If you have a student that has a junior rodeo, has a sports event, or has something other than our animals in mind, know that going in. And if you have a really good animal and you get a supreme champion, we will not be allowing people to pull animals out or pull their kids out. They have to be there to exhibit those animals. The supreme champion is, and all the 4 champions that came up, those kids need to be in the fairground or on the fairgrounds on sale day and need to be taking their own animals through. So if you have a conflict of interest, you know that it's a problem, going to be a problem, then don't cheat somebody else out of the opportunity of having an animal go through the sale as a champion. If your kid can't be there and you know it, pull your animal, or make sure that your kid can be there. And that's a big thing that several of our buyers, we had animals that went through that didn't belong to the kid that was with them. And our buyers, they want to see the kid that actually exhibited those animals.
Okay, so we have some more stuff in the chat that we're gonna go to, and then if anyone has any other questions or comments, then we'll take those, and then we'll try to wrap up, because we know everyone has a real life to get back to. So talking about the goats again, can meat goats show Monday and Thursday? I think, we'll definitely look at some different options for that. Can dairy markets be judged separately from boar goats? It was that way last year.
They were separated. They didn't.
Yeah, I think so. You're asking if that can happen again, I think is what I'm seeing there. Smaller classes for the goats to make more room.
That's not a problem.
Could be a possibility. Cattle ring somewhere else, definitely something we can look at. Sheep, thank you. As for online auction platforms, we have looked at have we looked at using SC Online or Willoughby? We absolutely have, and we've had some major discussions with SC Online. The only thing is they are a lot more expensive. So trying to, obviously keep the cost as low as possible. So yes, we're still looking at that. The program that we used this last year has had some major tweaks to it, and they're going to roll out at a couple bigger fairs, not fairs bigger than us, but bigger fairs than they did last year. So we are going to be watching to see how that goes, and that may be a possibility. And the possibility of just using the fair picture that's taken at the fair instead of the pictures we submitted for entries. We absolutely tried that. Again, we had some issues with the photographer. We didn't get a lot of those pictures. Terry and her daughter Taylor were up until like 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get all those pictures uploaded that got kind of foobarred up and jacked up. And I know that there were some parents who were very upset because it was not the picture it was not a backdrop picture, and it was the picture they had submitted. At some points too, the photographer didn't get us pictures, and so we put the best picture we could. I'll be honest, we were all scouring Facebook just trying to find pictures of the kids if we didn't have it, to try to avoid using the not so flattering pictures in the pens with Daisy Dukes. Could you consider separating market beef and showmanship on different days? The beef show ring is too small. The reason why we do market beef showmanship on market beef and showmanship on the same day is because we bring in the judge for that, and because our beef show is so small, it's one judge that judges everything. So it would mean bringing in another judge. So it's something we can discuss.
And we did bring in an out-of-state judge this year.
Yeah, and we did bring in an out-of-state judge, which to talk to that, we are looking at bringing in each year as our judges term out. We are looking at bringing in more out-of-state judges. So our cattle judge will be an out-of-state judge this year again, and we are looking at bringing in a hog judge from out of state. So recognizing that there's a lot of knowledge and everything, or not knowledge, everyone knows everyone. So we're looking at bringing in some different judges. Consequences for those who don't follow the rules. Amen. You bet. But then we're mean because we make kids follow rules. I don't know. Double-edged sword. Love the cattle show being done in one day. Please don't change that. Like the suggestion for SC or Willoughby, some things to review. Not everyone knew about the taking pictures. Absolutely. And then Audrey, you have your hand up.
Okay, thanks. I have questions because you were talking about the judges from out of state, and I do like that concept. The only question I have though too is sometimes I think, like I thought when David did it 2 years ago, Dillaboo, I thought he did like an amazing job with the kids. Not that this lady did not, but she spent like 30 minutes with each 4-H class. And it was 6 minutes from the time the freshmen, sophomores went in to the time she was done with the FFA kids. And I hate to say this, but I mean, these beef kids spend an entire year. And if some of them don't go to jackpots, it would be nice if they had like a good idea of what our county fair really represents for the kids. And for a steer kid to be in the ring for 6 minutes, she did a great job with the market class. And I felt like each animal got talked and they got to show. But for showmanship, I mean, when you work all year and you're only in the ring for 6 minutes, it's pretty hard to sell an expensive project like that. So just so they kind of know, like philosophy wise, like what we're doing. But she talked 4-H kids, and some of those classes in 4-H were larger than the freshman, sophomore beef class. And I realized
we can have those conversations with the judges. Absolutely. I would think for her in that case, she may have not spent as much time with the FFA, because I think from her background, she expected the FFA kids to be on it and maybe didn't recognize that, you know, as a freshman, sophomore, it could have been their very first project. So that's definitely something that we can cover.
And these seniors, it can be a first project for.
Yeah.
And just everybody just lost out on so much. It doesn't cost a thing to be, you know, just giving them that little extra. Just
absolutely.
They just want to be told. And some judges can group them and lump them, because we had David do it, right? The COVID year and the year before, correct?
Yeah, David was in 2019 and 2020. And he was actually, I mean, I'll be honest, he was a fill-in because the judge who was supposed to judge in 2019 missed their flight and never showed up. So,
right.
And Dave did a great job, but he also understands where fairs come from. So,
right. He does. Yes. I mean, that's his thing. So anyways, and then my question, it's just as long, you know, so those are good fits for our county fair. We're at a county fair. We're not like at a jackpot or, you know, at a sales yard kind of thing. Just that's kind of just the thing as I think about the different judges. And then the wristbands, for kids that are athletes, they do not allow them to play their sports. So I didn't know if you addressed that or not, because if they take their band off at a game, then how do they get back in the next day, or should they get before they leave?
I have the kids that come up and tell me that they have a sports, if they are volleyball, water polo, any of those kind of things, I have always given them an extra band.
Yeah.
Because I know that they make them take them off. It's just like, I used to give my husband I gave him tickets because he was a cop and he couldn't wear a wristband.
Right.
So it's one of those things where if I know the situation and I know ahead of time, I'll give the kid an extra.
Yeah.
Well, that might just help us as teachers, because we kind of know all these kids ahead of time, instead of asking, you know, Sanger kid always going up, well, I'm in this. We could maybe just come up with a sheet when we submit our advisor passes, if that helps. So
that would be great. And then we can get them to you guys in advance and you know, fix that.
We can distribute them as they go. Yeah.
Yeah. The athletes aren't the ones we're having the problems with. It's the ones that are slipping it off and then handing it to a friend to go back in. And I caught someone doing it.
Yeah.
Blatantly right in front of me.
Just to alleviate, like, now this kid goes up there, wait, I had to cut mine off and now I can't get back in, and just all those nonsense. If there's just like a little protocol, I'll make sure that they have to tell me, like, give me their game schedules, like, just so we know, then we can tell you guys at least ahead of time, so you know how many we're looking at to replace. But okay, yeah, thanks.
Anything else?
So yeah, that was everything on our list. I think, you know, just knowing that the junior livestock is a huge part of the Big Fresno Fair, and we are very proud of our kids who exhibit, and very thankful for each of you and the work that you do, and know that, you know, you are our partners in this, and we don't succeed if you're not succeeding. So if there are things that you know, suggestions you have, or things you need from us, or things that we can do to make it smoother on all ends, please let us know. Terry is in the office here and there. She's getting really good at working remotely. I'm in the office every day, so, you know, we're definitely there, and any suggestions you have, we're open to them. And Lisa, you had your hand raised.
The last thing I was thinking was, cleanup, or the day we were supposed to haul out and clean out our pens, that became a very, I think everybody knows that it was an awful situation. And I think part of it, I don't know, for me, I didn't care when we were supposed to do it. I didn't know when we were supposed to do it. And so I felt like maybe if we could have better, clear communication on what that schedule is supposed to look like. But we didn't know when we were supposed to start, and then we got there and people were doing it, so we started doing it also, and the dumpsters were all full, and we had to go out to the back and try to get some, and then all of a sudden we were getting yelled at to just stop. And so it was a whole situation.
So one of the big problems that we did have was that our dumpsters did get filled, but we kind of neglected to remember that we were going to have extra shavings from the goats, which we didn't used to have. So that became a problem. So when usually the way that it's supposed to go is when you guys get the word that it's your club's turn to haul out, you guys need to have you should start cleaning at that point. Everybody shouldn't be cleaning at the exact same time. So because of the dust and all that kind of stuff, it's a huge mess, and we try as best we can to take care of that. But haul out day is a mess no matter how you slice it. But Lisa, I would like to say thank you to your kids. They were there every single day helping with whatever needed help. We did appreciate all of their help, and tell them thank you.
Absolutely, I will. They really did enjoy it, and they both for sure would like to sign up to help again if you guys are able to, when you need help. And so
we need a lot of help in a lot of different ways.
On board. Do you guys just announce it on the PA that day that we're supposed to be on haul out day? Do you just announce it on the speakers, or do you is there a schedule posted anywhere? Because
we announce it by club. So so that we don't have a big backlog in the barn at the same time, we try and have it so that as one club is hauling out, we're announcing the next club to come in. So that's one of the things. But this year too, for the chicken people, before they leave, they are going to have to clean out their coops and their cages before they haul out their breeding birds. The market birds, they don't have a real big deal with that because they stay until we haul out on that Sunday. But the before they leave on a show day, they have to clean out the pens if they are going to leave empty pens.
And then we just had a suggestion. Can we look at roll-off dumpsters instead of the ones we use now, or maybe using both? And yes, we are working with our garbage company to see if there are some other things that we can do. Also looking at doing it how we kind of do it for Red Wave, where we have a dump area, and that would just be for the last day. But yeah, looking at some other options as well. Trying to make it as easy as possible, because we're all tired.
Yeah. So I'm going to say one more thing, and then we'll just wrap it. Well, we can wrap it all up. When the last day for haul out, after everybody's gone, and the next day when we do shipping, it is imperative that your kids, yourself, your club members, they take all of their stuff with them the night of haul out, and you don't leave any animals in the pen that you're coming back for the next day because you didn't want to haul out that night. We cannot have extra bodies in the barn when we are doing haul out, nor can we have extra vehicles in the barn. The ag teachers that pick up their waterers, they usually do it afternoon, and that's not ever a problem. But if you come in at 9 o'clock in the morning, or you come in at 7 o'clock in the morning, most likely we are still doing haul out. And honestly, it kind of slows us down, and you get in the way. And so we would rather you guys not come in until it's time to pick up the waterers. And if you leave anything behind, you can come get back and get it, but it's really, really difficult when you guys are coming in during the same time we're hauling out. So anybody else have anything that you guys want to add? Good, bad, ugly?
And the only thing that I'll comment lastly is we're going to look at doing some of these Zooms a little bit more frequently. So be expecting to do, 2 or 3 before fair as kind of entries start going, and then as entries are due, just to keep that lines of communication open and be able to, be there to answer anything that you guys have. And always good to hear other people's thoughts. So we do plan on doing more of these Zooms with our leaders. And we have one hand raised. Go ahead, Jean.
Hi, so just on the last note, and I'm sure everyone here could probably agree with me, is just a final thank you guys and everybody. I know Taylor and your whole team, you guys have done a phenomenal job and had very limited people. So Terry, I know you went a lot of sleepless nights and we greatly appreciate your work.
Well, thank you. I couldn't do it without all of you guys. And I know that a lot of the people that are kind of my backbone of this deal, they're actually on the Zooms tonight because you guys want to stay involved, you want to help out, and I appreciate that in all of you.
Okay, thank you, and get ready for the fair.
Yeah,
we'll be back bigger and better than ever.
Quick question: beef cattle. Are we still tagging beef cattle? Are we still tagging in May?
Thank you for everything, guys. Good night.
Yes, and we should have a book out here probably the beginning of probably end of March, beginning of April.
Okay, and then if there's breeding heifers,
we're gonna have a book out before
young heifers.
that.
Say again.
If there's breeding heifers, do we need to? We don't enter them until August, right?
Right.
No.
Right.
Okay, just make sure.
Okay, 99. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So Lori, we can just go. It's Terry.
I was just reading your comment.
Sorry, thank you. So we can just go ahead and send an email to Terry that says, hey, yeah, for sure, put me on that committee. I know I've been on it before, but like,
yes.
Hey, you're already there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no, still send the email just so then we're trying to, because then if people are like, well, why has that committee always been the same 6 people that it's always been? We're like, okay, but we put it out there and those people still want to be on it. So that's why, trying to let everyone have their.
Yeah, no, I'm totally happy to continue to help and try to, oh, babies. I'm more than happy to continue if you need the help. And, I just want to be helpful, not,
You are.
Okay.
You are. We'll tell you if you're not.
Yeah, tell your hubby.
Just kidding.
Your hubby's been assigned as well.
Oh, okay.
Thanks a lot.
He says thanks. Thank you though, both of you. I do appreciate that. And I thank you for also helping out with those buyers that I don't know, lost their minds this year with add-ons or bidding before it even hit the ring, or I don't even know what was happening, but it's okay. I just thank you very much for making that happen and helping those kids out so that they didn't lose out on that. So
we're here for the kids.
Yep.
And to have fun.
Yeah. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Hi, Lori. Hi, Terry. First off, Lori, I don't know if you recognize me with my new last name. Livestock Super
Yeah, Chinchilla.
Is there?
Wait, is this number 2?
This is number 2.
Oh my God.
Is there a way to get on Terry's email list? Terry, I love you dearly, but I've been trying to get on your email list and I never get on it. Like, I don't know if there's a way.
Email me.
I do, but I never get added to like the ag teacher one.
Oh.
Because like in Mendota, there is 7 of us, but you only ever email Brad. Brad's the only one that gets them out there.
There are 7 of you guys in Mendota?
There's 7 of us out there, and we just built a brand new farm. So like now.
I just saw the whole thing on My Job Depends on Ag. So I saw Brad at Mark Thompson's birthday party a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a great thing. And like, it was so awesome. And I'm like, why do we not know how, like, this crazy cool crap you have going on in Mendota?
So, 5 are now in charge of livestock. We have like 3 large animals and then 2 small animals. So it just, we all talk, but sometimes it would just be nice to be like, oh, did you all get the email from Terry? Not like, thankfully, Terry and I are friends on Facebook. So like I seen about this meeting through that. And then I was like, hey, Brad, did you get this email? And Brad didn't get this email for whatever reason. Like, and emailing is super hard. I just don't know if there's like a way that maybe
some of the people that I email, for some reason, like Barcelos, when he was out there, his would always bounce back because of our spam. We have a really high, we have a Barracuda system for our spam. So sometimes it looks at us as spam. And so depending on your stuff, so I have asked a lot of the IT teachers to give me their personal ones so I can put those in the system.
So, and I was gonna say, email us a list of all 7 of you guys with your email addresses and send it to me as well. Because then what I can do is I can send that to our IT guy and get those put on our like secured list.
Perfect.
And then we'll get you guys added.
Perfect. And then I will email you about the committees to join.
So you're the super at Chowchilla?
Not
I
anymore.
have been for the last 3 years. I resigned in December because I now have 2 kids and Chowchilla does not allow me to work remote. So I would spend Saturdays in the office, and with 2 kids, I just can't do it. Along with being a full-time teacher in Mendota.
He won't let you work remote?
No, I've never been allowed to work remote. So I would go in on Saturdays to do all my work on Saturdays and then all the emails to my phone. So like in class, if I was on break, I would just sit and constantly answer emails through my phone. Or everyone had my personal phone number, so they would just call or text me. So just between having 2 kids and the fairs ran during my actual job now, like it just, it's not, I have to be a mom. So it's my last fair. So Terry, I ran AgFest when it was first happened. I was the super at AgFest for 3 years. And then when I got married and moved to, I ran Chowchilla. And then I'm also the dairy super at State Fair. So I get around. Yeah, I get around a little bit.
Get around.
Yeah.
I might be calling you.
Okay, go ahead. I'm here to help top secret auction committee people.
Oh, yeah, our top secret auction committee, is that what you just said?
Yeah.
So it is Jeff Gates and Louis Barossi.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know Jeff. Jeff's been around. Yeah. Okay, so everybody knows Jeff.
Mark.
So Louis Barossi, well, Mark's always been there, but this is like, these are like our two, these 2 guys are just like ready to like blow the world up. And we have some like cool stuff that we want to do like the night before, do some like stuff kind of like they do with the Sale of Champions at State Fair, do like we want to do it.
We want to doll it up.
For the #1 ag producing county in the freaking world to not have the #1 livestock auction so we're gonna step it up. But Louis is a member of our Friends of the Fair board, and he yes, that's a nightly occurrence. He owns a construction business and a restaurant, and he just loves kids and youth and activities. And so he and Jeff grew up with each other, and they're both just ready to just
blow it up.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That excites me. So thank you, ladies, for everything.
Okay, thank you.
If you need help, just let me know. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Who's this Zito person? I don't know.